I just finished my first year at Georgia Tech studying computer science, and I thought I'd make this video not just to reflect on my own experiences, but also to help you guys who are interested in computer science and might be going into it, and help you guys understand what to expect from the degree. If you're interested in programming content and want to see more things like this, hit that like button and subscribe. It'll help me out a lot and hopefully put this video in front of more people who could gain things from it. Now, I'm going to divide this video into roughly 5 sections: courses, clubs, internships, social life and time management, and finally, just general tips. All right, let's jump straight into it. I took 11 classes this year, or about 34 credits, so I won't go into each one individually. I'll only really talk about the CS classes. So I took 5 CS classes, and I'll list them all right now. First of all, we had Java and introductory Java class, data structures and algorithms, low-level programming class, machine learning, and a discrete math class. So those are all my CS classes, and most of these were interesting, all except the introductory Java class for obvious reasons. And I thought the most difficult out of these was low-level programming because it was so different from what I'd been used to. We were talking about like circuits and assembly and C, things I hadn't really gone too deep into before this class. However, the only class that I got to be in, the only CS class I got to be in, was data structures and algorithms. This was embarrassing because I just threw the tests. The material was fine, I knew what I was doing, but I threw the tests and it was just like very unfortunate. In other highlights for STEM classes, I took linear algebra, and then I took the exemption exam for multivariable calculus and passed that, so I didn't have to take the class. I was just good with the exemption. Now, I did actually get another B this year. I got a B in general psychology. I know you're laughing, but it's fine. You know, embarrassing, but it is what it is. I just bombed the test. Now, that brings the grand total of my grades up to 9 A's and 2 B's in the first year. Hopefully no more B's, but you know, who knows what will happen. Now, if you're thinking about just general tips and how you can manage a heavy course load, because the course load that I took was heavier compared to most people. I took 19 credits in my second semester and 15 credits in my first semester, which 15 credits in your first semester is pretty normal. 19 credits is usually more than people take. It's an extra class, basically. Now, what I would suggest you do to stay on top of your stuff is to never really procrastinate. Now, it's easier said than done, but here's a tip that might help you. And I'll talk more about time management later in this video, but here's a tip right now. Insist artificial deadlines upon yourself. Create artificial deadlines. If you have a project due on June 30th, tell yourself it's due June 25th and make yourself work before that deadline. Even if you don't get it done by the artificial fake deadline you made up for yourself, you'll still be in a good spot because it's due later and you'll be almost done or have gotten a significant start. So you won't be as stressed as the real deadline approaches. And hopefully this will, reduce the number of all-nighters you pull, reduce the number of times that you have to stay up late on random nights, or just be stressed the day before. Always get your work done, or not work done, sorry. Always start your work a significant amount before the due date. In fact, start it as soon as you get the assignment. That's all I can really say. Start an assignment basically as soon as you can get it, and that'll just help you out a lot. You'll manage your time perfectly, and at the end of the day, hopefully your grades will reflect that, and your mental state. All in all though, I would say that it really wasn't that heavy of a workload, and if you grinded hard in high school, I think you'll find that college is honestly a step down in terms of pressure, or at least it was for me. This isn't true for everybody, this is just my own experience, but for me, it was definitely a step down in pressure, and I was able to relax a lot more in college. Also just because you don't have classes from 8 to 5 directly, you can have blocks in between classes for breaks, which is pretty awesome. People will tell you that one of the most important parts of college is to join clubs, to network and build skills, and this is great advice that I chose just not to listen to. I did join a few clubs at the beginning of the first semester. I went to a few meetings, but none of them really held my interest for that long. It didn't feel like I was really learning anything from them or being able to contribute to projects they were doing because the projects were moving really slow. So I just stopped showing up to meetings. I dropped out of the clubs. And honestly speaking, I thought that was fine. I managed to network through other means. There's plenty of other ways that you can network on a college campus, especially if you go to a slightly bigger school. There's plenty of people you can talk to. You can even network in like the library or lunch. It doesn't really matter. You can network anywhere. You can find, and also the word networking in the first place is kind of weird because just make acquaintances, make friends with cool people. But that point aside, joining clubs is a great thing if you can find clubs that you are passionate about and can feel yourself actively contributing to. If you're going to a club just to go to the club and you're not really doing anything, this is kind of stupid because one, you probably won't be able to get leadership for that club. And if you're just going to a club just to go, you're probably in it for resume padding. So it's not working towards your own goals, and 2, you're not learning any skills, so it's kind of just a waste of your time, and it's a waste of the time of the people that are running the club who kind of want people that are interested in it, right? Now, sometimes it is worth going to a club just to go if they, have really cool corporate partners or really cool opportunities. Then sometimes it's worth, suffering through a slightly boring club to get access to really cool opportunities, as long as you're putting in a decent amount of work anyways. But what I'm trying to say here is that it's definitely not necessary for you to go to clubs to network and get great internship opportunities or whatever you're really looking for. And you definitely should not go to clubs just to resume pad. People may disagree with me on this, and that's fine, but I think you shouldn't go to clubs just to pad your resume. I did actually manage to get an internship, and that's what I've been doing for the majority of the summer so far, and it's a pretty good time. I was pretty surprised to get an internship as a freshman because I just thought companies weren't interested. But if you apply to enough companies and you utilize, your college's career fairs, your career department, and finding people that have mutual connections to companies that you're interested in, it's possible that you can get an internship even as a freshman. And the most important thing for this is, first of all, being able to have good side projects and networking with people that could get you a referral at a company. I won't talk too much about getting internship in this video because I have a full video on that. I'll leave a link to it in the description down below, and it should show up on screen over here. But I'm just saying, make sure your side projects are looking good so you can get an internship and compete against upperclassmen. All right, on to the next thing. Let's go. The other thing a lot of prospective CS majors tend to get worried about is whether or not they can manage to have a social life while still in college, and you definitely can. There's the saying that you can only pick 2 out of the following 3: sleep, social life, and grades. And I think that's a pile of hogwash, a total pile of bullcrap, because I managed to get 7 hours of sleep a night, have pretty good grades, and still hang out with my friends. It's totally doable, and let me tell you what you need to do. First of all, don't procrastinate. I know it's easier said than done, but like I said earlier, do the artificial deadline thing that I talked about earlier in the video, and here's some other tips that you should take into account. First of all, always start your work as soon as you get it. Even if you don't really know how to do it yet, start it as soon as you get it, because you'll figure out what you don't know and be able to ask better questions to your TAs or teachers or professors or whatever, and get your work done quicker that way. Also, don't study for a test just the day before. Of course, if this does work for you and it saves you time, do it, whatever works for you. But for me, studying just the day before, lots of unnecessary stress on my head, and then it just ruins my experience for the day and a few days after that. Instead, start a few days earlier, ease into it, and then you'll be able to cover the content more thoroughly and just have more confidence in yourself going into the exam rather than having to pull in an all-nighter and then going in tired. Now, another tip that I might have to say, it's a little bit unpopular. But before I say that, join my Discord server if you have any disagreements with me and let me know what you think of my advice so far. I'll leave a link in the description down below. Now, my other tip is avoid study groups. And a lot of people might find this a little bit controversial because, they're like, why can't I study with my friends? Well, first of all, I feel like small study groups are fine. Like 3 people, that's okay. But once you increase it to like 4, you might be fine for the first 10, 15, or 30 minutes of that study group. But after that, you're not gonna be getting any work. I'm sorry to say, but you're gonna get distracted. I just think it will happen. Now, maybe this is a me problem. Maybe I get distracted in larger groups. But in my experience, when you have a study group of like 4 people, and you guys are like talking to each other, it's not really gonna work unless you all have your headphones in. So get your work done before you hang out with your friends. Don't study with your friends because you're not gonna be focusing on studying and you're not gonna be fully focused on hanging out with your friends. So you're not really doing anything right. Do your work before you go hang out with your friends, and then you'll be able to have a more engaging experience, and it's just a better time. That's what I did for the last year, and honestly, I liked it a lot. I was very mentally okay doing this. The other way around, it leads to a lot of unnecessary stress. So please do not do that. All in all, I would say that my first year really wasn't that bad. The 2 Bs I got were just unfortunate instances. None of the material was too difficult to understand. And even if you do find things difficult to understand, like I did find some topics difficult, there's so many people, or at least there were at my school. And even if you go to a smaller school, there's definitely other people in the class that do understand it, and you can ask them for help. Ask the TAs for help, ask the professor for help. People are willing to help you. Even I feel like in competitive environments, they want each other to do well. So do not be afraid to ask for help. And additionally, enjoy it. If you're going into CS just for the money, maybe you'll enjoy it a little bit less, but it's still fine. There's nothing wrong with going into CS just for the money. But if you are going into CS, try to enjoy it. There's a lot of stuff that's annoying, there's a lot of stuff that's boring, yes, but there's a lot of stuff that's genuinely cool and genuinely interesting, and I encourage you to latch onto that and really use that as motivation to get through your other boring classes. Now, in terms of general advice, I've already said this in this video, but build side projects. I'll make another video about this soon, or I'll just leave a link to the Primogens video, which is really good on it. Build side projects. You learn so much, so quick, and it's really just the quickest way to learn things related to software engineering. All right, that's basically all my advice for the video. Let's close things out. That's all I really have to say for this video. If you think I missed something or you disagree with me, tweet at me on Twitter or DM me on Instagram or Discord. I'll leave links to all 3 of those in the description down below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. It'll help me out a lot. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. I hope you have a great day. Peace out.